Welcome back to our second session of Drug-Free Life. When I was with you guys face-to-face, we talked about 3 different definitions, and I'm just going to review them with you. First one being drug use. The 3 points of drug use are that it has to be things like medicine. We discussed what it was when somebody uses medicine, that medicine is a drug. We also discussed that it has to be legal and that it has to be responsible use. And then we talked about drug abuse. And the 3 points for drug abuse is that it is irresponsible. So we discussed if somebody is using alcohol to the point where they are getting drunk. Illegal, for example, if somebody was to use marijuana, that is illegal. And using it for the wrong reasons. We discussed things like to help them deal with their stress and or trying to fit in. Things like that would be the wrong reasons. And the third definition that we used is addiction. And the key word that I wanted you to remember with addiction is that it's when their body depends on the drug. So their brain sends a message that they need to have this drug. So then we are going to continue to talk about tobacco. There are 4 different forms of tobacco. When we are talking about tobacco this session, we are talking about these 4 types. So the 4 types are cigarettes, cigars, chewing tobacco, and pipes. And you guys may know some people that use some of these. You may know people that use all 4 of them. You might not know anybody that uses any of them. So here in Canada, tobacco is a drug that is legal. You need to be 18 to buy tobacco. You can buy it at lots of different stores in your community, things like the grocery store, the gas station. There might be certain stores that are kind of individual that you guys can think of that are in your community that you can buy tobacco. We're going to talk about 4 different main chemicals that are in tobacco. Nicotine is the chemical in tobacco that makes people addicted. It is what makes people feel the effects of tobacco. So the nicotine goes into the body via the mouth, then it enters the bloodstream and gets pumped up to the brain, which gives people the effects that they feel. And that's with any drug, like we discussed in the first session, that it goes into the body, which however people use the drug, goes into the body, goes into the blood, gets pumped to the brain, changes the way that the brain functions. So if there was no nicotine in tobacco, people would not get addicted to it. The second chemical is carbon monoxide. And this is a chemical that's also in tobacco. Now, what is carbon monoxide? Carbon monoxide is an odorless, tasteless gas that when it goes into the body, it replaces the oxygen in our red blood cells. So when someone smokes tobacco, that carbon monoxide enters the body and it replaces the oxygen in their red blood cells, which then reduces the amount of oxygen in their whole body. For example, you guys may know somebody that has smoked tobacco for many years. Their skin and their face might appear to be a little bit wrinkly, and that is because of the lack of oxygen. And so some of you guys may actually have a carbon monoxide detector in your home, and that is because carbon monoxide can be released from like your furnace, or if you're in a garage with a running vehicle. That can also releases carbon monoxide. And the reason that's harmful for us is because what it does is it replaces that oxygen in our red blood cells. And obviously our whole body needs oxygen in order for it to function. Third chemical that we're going to talk about is tar. Tar is a black sticky substance. And when someone smokes cigarettes, the smoke leaves behind this tar in their lungs. If someone smokes 1 pack of cigarettes for 1 day for 1 year, this here is the amount of tar that would go into their lungs. So as you can see, it is a lot of tar, and it is like a black sticky substance. Now when I tip this jar, and I will rotate it, you will see that it sticks to the sides. And that is exactly what the tar does in our lungs. Now, people that have smoked for many years, sometimes they will cough up this black sticky substance. They will sometimes have this coughing attack and this black sticky substance, just like if you were to have a bad cold and you're coughing up phlegm, they cough up this black sticky substance. Not very pleasant, that's for sure. But it's our way, it's our body's way of kind of trying to protect itself and trying to defend itself, because it is trying to get rid of it. That tar is like a poison to our body. So our body wants to try to get rid of it. So some of you guys may have learned about how tobacco is a sacred plant for some of the First Nations, and that is true, but I can tell you that the tobacco that we use today is very, very different than that sacred tobacco plant. And the reason why is because these chemicals are actually added into at the factory. When the factory makes the tobacco, when they make the cigarettes, when they make the chewing tobacco, when they make the cigars, all of these chemicals are added in. Now, of course, there's not actually batteries added into it, because we would see the batteries in a cigarette, but it's the same chemicals. And that's what we have to remember, that the same chemicals that are added into bug spray, that are added into toilet cleaner, that are added into paint, that are in sewer gas, these chemicals are also added into the tobacco. So when somebody is using tobacco, they are putting in the nicotine, the carbon monoxide, the tar, and then all of these other chemicals which are added in. Okay guys, so I have a question for you. How many of you guys would give me $1,000 and I will give you a jar of chemicals? I will mix up all these chemicals for you that are in tobacco, and I will put them in a jar. I will give it to you and you pay me $1,000 for that jar of chemicals. Probably none of you would be willing to do that, because you know that it's harmful for your body. Using tobacco is the same, except for the users not giving me the money. They are giving the money to the store, to the tobacco company, to the government. The government collects taxes every time that somebody sells a cigarette package, every time they sell a can of chewing tobacco. So the money is not going to me, but essentially when somebody is making the choice to use tobacco, they are paying those places to put those chemicals into their body. And most of you guys know that you wouldn't do that, but that is the choice that people are making.